It's the Kyle Hyman Show on Redeemer Radio.
This is Kyle Hyman, and with us is Bonnie Engstrom, here to talk about the miraculous story of her son's healing, and also, really, it's a story that is turning into the path of canonization for Archbishop Fulton Sheen as well. So thanks for being here, Bonnie.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. How did Fulton Sheen first make his way into your life? Where did you first learn about him, hear about him, become interested in him?
Sure. The first time I had heard about him was probably when I was a little girl. I think everyone from Central Illinois, which is where I live and where he was born and raised, I think we're all kind of proud that he's like our boy,
yeah,
you know?
Sure.
So people would talk about him, and there's still like lots of people who are related to him. They're all over the place. But it was when I was pregnant with James that I started watching old episodes of Life is Worth Living, his television show. You can watch them on YouTube, and
Sure.
They're on EWTN, but I was watching them on YouTube, and I was so taken by him, and that was kind of really when our relationship started, I guess you could say.
And so at what point did you think you were going to name a child after him?
Well, I remember watching the show with my husband, and we were so impressed with him, and I remember turning to Travis and saying, you know, his cause is open here in the Diocese of Peoria. What if, you know, if our baby is a boy, we should name him after Fulton Sheen, because that would be so cool that we thought we would be like ahead of the trend, which we were not. But that was when it was, because, you know, again, we were so taken by him, and we just felt certain that he would be a saint from everything we were learning and witnessing. Mm-hmm. He was such a holy man.
So then talk a little bit about your son's birth. I know this is could take an hour to tell the story, but what's the Cliff Notes version?
Sure. The Cliff Notes is James was my third home birth. It was planned. Everything was healthy, normal, totally fine. What we didn't know is there was a knot in James's umbilical cord. And so while I was delivering him, that knot tightened. And it tightened so much that it cut off his oxygen supply, so that he was a stillborn when he was delivered. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I remember sitting there in my bedroom, and my midwife started CPR, and my husband did an emergency baptism. And we had a friend who called 911. And I remember just going into a state of shock and not being able to process anything, but in my head saying Fulton Sheen, Fulton Sheen, Fulton Sheen over and over and over again, kind of, you know, calling on him to kind of bridge the gap and do all the things that I could not do. But then the ambulance came. They took James to our local hospital, and both in the ambulance and in the emergency room, James was hooked to a heart monitor and had no heartbeat for, you know, he had what they call pulseless electrical activity. So kind of like the little squiggles on the line or on the monitor. And legally, you can be declared dead if you are PEA on the monitor is what they call it. And so, you know, they were doing everything they could to restart his heart, but nothing was working. So finally, the doctors in the emergency department stopped so that they could call time of death. And altogether, he had not had a heartbeat for 61 minutes. But as soon as they stopped working on him, that was when his heart started to beat. It just shot right up to a healthy heart rate, and it never stopped again. Cliff Notes version.
Yeah. So what made you think to ask for Archbishop Fulton Sheen's intercession at this point in time?
You know, really, I give the credit to the Holy Spirit because I don't know. But I think that as soon as we decided to name our baby after Fulton Sheen, I had started the habit of asking for his intercession almost on a daily basis, you know, asking for him to pray for the upcoming labor, delivery, and the entire life of my child. And so I think probably what happened was in that moment of extreme, you know, chaos, I just kind of fell back on this habit that I had already built.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think it was the Holy Spirit, like really leading me, pushing me in that direction.
So when you first found out what happened, that he no pulse for 61 minutes, not 61 seconds, 61 minutes, and then he, came to life, basically, were you immediately, did you know that this was a miracle, or did you think it was just some kind of normal scientific thing that happens in medicine, or what was your initial reaction?
Well, we didn't know. Personally, I was really naive and again, operating in a state of shock, and
Sure.
I didn't really understand what was going on. But the doctors all thought, okay, well, he's going to die again. So we need to make him comfortable and do what we can. But they expected massive organ failure,
right?
Because that's what should happen,
Mm-hmm.
know? So that's not what happened. He kept getting better and better. And so then they kind of prepared us for James to live a life that was filled with some very severe special needs and disabilities. And because, that was kind of medically and scientifically, that's what made sense next. If he's not going to die from organ failure, then what makes sense based on everything else we know is, he should be incredibly medically frail for the rest of his life.
Sure. But he just turned 9 years old. So how's he doing?
He's great. He's so great. He's, like you said, he just turned 9, and it's incredible. Our doctor one time said to us, it's not a miracle that James is alive. That is extraordinary,
okay.
He said, but it's a miracle that he's doing as well as he is. That's the part that is just astounding, and no one can make sense of it. He shouldn't be riding a two-wheeler. He shouldn't be, practicing his spelling words. He shouldn't be doing just all these, normal 9-year-old boy things.
Right.
So
we're talking with Bonnie Engstrom. Her book is 61 Minutes to a Miracle, Fulton Sheen and a True Story of the Impossible. And what was the process then for investigating this to be a miracle to lead towards Archbishop Fulton Sheen's canonization?
Sure. So once we were pretty certain, because he was a baby, so we had to wait for him to hit milestones, of course. But once we were pretty certain that the miracle had happened, because he was so normal, we called the Sheen Foundation and told them the story, and they kind of talked amongst themselves, and then they called their postulator in Rome, who is the person who kind of assembles all the information and then writes the positions, the positios, which they turn to the Congregation for the Causes of Saints, and it was the postulator who said, okay, this is pretty extraordinary. We should do an investigation on this. So that's what they did. It was a 3-month-long tribunal, and we turned over all the medical records, and they interviewed a bunch of witnesses, gathered all the information that they could, and then turned that over to the postulator, and the postulator, he compiled the positio, which he turned over to the Congregation for the Causes of Saints.
And so were the doctors, the nurses, the medical people that were part of this case, were they believers? Were they Catholic? Were they Christian? What was their reaction to all of this?
They're some were Catholic, some were Christian, but not Catholic, and some people aren't believers at all. But I think kind of all over, they were astounded. It was really interesting because there were some doctors who were like, yeah, this is a miracle. I have no way to explain this. Right. And there were other doctors who said, I have no way to explain this, but I will string together a series of hypothetical situations that might have happened to prove that it can't be a miracle. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because they were so uncomfortable with using that word.
Yeah.
But it was just well, that, the medical records don't support what you are saying at all. So yeah, it's interesting, but I think in the end, there's just no other explanation. James should be dead. He should be dead.
So how has that whole experience, but then the process after and all the attention that it's gotten, how has this changed you as a mother?
I think, oh goodness, how has it changed me as a mother? I think that I maybe am more grateful. I think any mom who has lost a child there's just something about, because we appreciate all of our children, but I think I'm more grateful for the everyday miracles and the amazing things that our bodies can do. When I think about all the things James shouldn't be able to do, but now he can do them, it's all amazing,
Right.
Like, oh my goodness, he can chew and swallow and eat food. Like, he shouldn't be able to do that. That's amazing. And as a mom, I guess, as a mom who did miscarry a baby, there is part of me that's kind of, extra grateful that he was given back to us through this miracle for the glory of God, So I don't know. I hope it's made me more grateful. I hope God would agree with that statement.
So how has Fulton Sheen then continued to be a part of your life since then?
Just every day. He has an everyday presence. I think probably the biggest impact is I still ask for his intercession with James. I still pray to him, and I often will ask for his prayers and his guidance with just trying to say the right things about James to the public, because I want to still protect his privacy and let him be a little boy. And so that's kind of one of the big things. I know Fulton Sheen understands the spotlight. And so, yeah, just to make sure that I'm protecting him while also using this part of his story to glorify God.
Sure. And it's doing that, and it's inspired so many people, and also is probably leading to the beatification and hopefully someday canonization of Saint Fulton Sheen as well. Are you looking forward to the beatification?
I am. Oh my goodness, so much. It'll be here in Peoria, Illinois, which is right where I live, and so we cannot wait. We don't have a date yet, but we cannot wait. We're so excited.
Yeah, hopefully you guys would get front row seats for that, I assume, right?
I think so.
All right. Well, where can
I'm
people...
not sure, but I think.
Sure. Where can people get a copy of the book?
It's available at your local Catholic bookstore. You can find it at our Sunday Visitors website, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target. Please grab a copy. We would love for you to read the story and then pass it on to a friend. Tell everyone.
All right, again, it's 61 Minutes to a Miracle, Fulton Sheen, and a true story of the impossible. Thank you so much, Bonnie Engstrom, for sharing your story, just a little bit of it with us. Definitely people need to check out the book for the full story, so thanks for sharing.
Thank you.